We warmly welcome all of you who are gathered here today with us to expand your horizons as budding entrepreneurs. I'm Tarushi Fernando, your host for the day. To start off with the day's proceedings, I would like to kindly invite Ms. Shafia Sadiq to formally welcome the gathering.
Good evening to everyone who has joined us today for the workshop on selecting effective employees for SMEs. I feel much privileged to welcome you all on behalf of the third year batch of the Department of Entrepreneurship of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. First and foremost, let me warmly welcome the guest speaker of the day, Ms. Tilini Edirisinghe, Deputy General Manager of Human Resources at Aitken Spence Plantation Management PLC. Thank you very much, Madam, for accepting our invitation and being the key resource person for the workshop. It is indeed a pleasure to have you here with us today. On behalf of the Department of Entrepreneurship, I offer my sincere regards to the head of the department, Dr. Mrs. Sriyani Ranasinghe, and the coordinator of the subject, Ms. Pubudini Lienege, for the opportunity given to us in organizing this workshop session. Finally, let me warmly welcome all the participants who are joining us today through the Zoom platform. We hope that you all would benefit from this session, and this workshop enlightens us all and provides us with approaches to deal with the challenges of tomorrow. Over to you, Tarushi.
Thank you,
Tarushi.
Shafia. Knowledge is a very powerful tool.
I think it seems Tarushi is having a connection issue. So yes, uh, as you all know, knowledge is a very powerful tool, and tactically combined with knowledge expands its power. Tonight, we have an amazing personality with us who had been working with us with the human resource and nurturing her entity with her experience and knowledge throughout the past years. Moving on to the main session of the day, I would like to welcome Ms. Tilini Edirisinghe, the Deputy General Manager of Human Resource of Aitken Spence Plantations, to proceed with the day's agenda. Dear Madam, over to you.
Thank you everyone for the impressive introduction given to me. So I will switch on my camera for a while because you can see me then how it's look like me. So you have to see me now. So actually when you were inviting me, you gave me the topic of selecting effective employees for SMEs. So when I'm proceeding with this presentation and the workshop, I will give you more information, something beyond this topic, which I really want to discuss with you, since you all are about to reach the corporate environment. So before we start the session, let me introduce myself a little bit, because you should know who am I. I'm Tilini Edirisinghe, and currently I'm working for Alpitier Plantations managed by Aitken Spence Plantations Management PLC. So before I joined Aitken Spence, I was working for Softlogic and John Keels, whereas I got the opportunity of working for two big conglomerates in the country and gain practical experience and process systems and everything from such big entities. So that is very briefly about me. Actually, I have done my postgraduate studies in University of Colombo, and I have done my professional education with the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. So to move with, I will share my presentation. Can I share the screen now?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes.
I've given you the.
Okay, yes. Hope you can see the presentation. You all can
Yes,
see the
we can.
presentation. Yes. Okay. So I think I am being a HR person. I think I'm the most suitable person to talk about this topic because in my career in HR, more than 13, almost like 15 years now. So I have been meeting several people, different ages, I mean, like many different type of people when I'm interviewing and selecting people for the organizations. So I know that you are expecting me to explain you what we expect from a person when we are interviewing, basically through the selection process. So even at the point you gave me this topic, I told more than talking about how we are selecting effective employees, let me discuss about what we expect from an effective candidate. Because I know when you are entering the corporate environment, you are going to be candidates one day. Because I know that you are not working yet. Maybe sometimes you have done internships with the corporate conglomerates, but you have not actually been faced a kind of a formal interview, formal selection process when you are going for the job. So I thought it's better that I talk with you, I discuss with you in this workshop how to become an effective candidate. I know this is what your expectation today. So let me talk about this, and I will go through some sort of selection processes and what we do. And end of the day, any organization, there are list of expectations that we want to see from any candidate when they are coming for the selection process. So that is what we are going to discuss today in very brief. So let me start with the presentation first. Who is an effective employee? So before we talk about how we are going to select effective employees, we need to understand who are the effective employees. So basically, like, the meaning of effective, I know it. The meaning of effectiveness, But what do we mean by an effective employee? So normally one thing you have to understand, this world is changing every second. And we never thought our country will go on such a crisis this soon. So we had to face a lot of challenges. So the world is changing, the technology is improving day by day. So with that, the corporate environment, the industries in this world is changing very fastly. So with that, the expectations of the managements, the expectations of the organizations are that expectations are also changing with the changes. So you have to understand there are with these changes happening in the world, the meaning of effective employee is also changing. So basically, any organization, when we are interviewing a person, if we select a person, what we expect from that person is we need that person to meet the management expectations. Basically, in very brief, to meet the organizational expected goals and objectives. So effective employee should have the ability of achieving goals and objectives expected by the management. And similarly, that person should have the capacity to achieve that goals within the given framework, and the organization will give you set of resources. And also, most importantly, they will give you a timeline. So that is what we expect from an effective employee. So that is what do we mean by an effective employee. So you have to understand, if you want to become an effective employee, there are a set of goals which you need to achieve, and you should have the ability and the set of skills to achieve it. And secondly, you have set of resources given by the management to achieve them. So you should be able to achieve your targets within that given resources. And most importantly, I told you the world is changing. So with that, meeting the timelines is very important thing in case of becoming an effective employee. So you have to keep that in mind. The concept of becoming an effective employee is also changing. I will give you one example. Now, if you really see the changes happening in the environment, if you really don't have the knowledge of technology, if you don't have the knowledge of this e-world, what is happening in the e-world, what will happen nowadays? So you can't go ahead with the corporate environment, because now even my organization, 75% of the employees are working from home. So if you don't have that ability to manage everything in your computer, so you are failed. So that you need to understand the meaning of effective employee also changing with these changes happening in the business environment. And the organization also expect you to react those changes effectively. So that you need to understand what is an effective employee. So moving forward, I will tell you few selection methods that we use in terms of the selection processes. Now everyone knows, okay, if you have seen a vacancy, when you apply for it, normally what you expect at the first level. So you are waiting for the call. Okay, I have applied for this job. Hopefully I will receive a call. So you are expecting you to call for the interview. So that is the normal thing. So similarly, any organization would have practiced this. So there are a lot of selection processes that we follow that also, we have interviews, we do different tests. Now in case of, we'll take IT job, or we'll take kind of technical job, definitely you would have to go through a test. That is what we call assignment test. And we have cognitive strength test and aptitude test. So what are those for? All these things. Because sometimes some organizations do several activities, several type of tests to select the most suitable employees who has the psychological capacity. So I told you, when the world is changing, the organizations thought of, we need a person not only to do the job, but the person should be able to cope up the pressure coming up and the changes happening. So for that, they need a person with a good psychological health. So for that, there are a lot of tests happening in the business environment. And similarly, there are a lot of other things we do. Candidate references, that also right? When we are selecting a person, we always try to get references from the known people to the candidate, because we should know the background of the person. We don't know what he has done in previous employments. If he is a beginner, at least we try to get some references from university lecturers. So likewise. And also in-person interview is finally what we do for one-to-one interview. And personality assessments. So what is personality assessments? Sometimes I should tell you, when you go for interviews, you don't know the people, the management is doing personality test without telling you. So that matters, the way you behave, the way you talk at the interview, and the way you shake hand at the interview. So personality, job knowledge evaluation. So all these things are traditional and modern, but time to time we change several things with the technological advancement. So these are type of modern employee selection methods. I know you all know all these things. What do you mean by work simulation? Work simulation is, these are things that we do for very specific jobs. Sometimes when we really want to get people for highly technical things, at the interview point, we used to give them a similar type of situation to handle, and he has to act on the same job and get selected from the interview. So these are set of activities that we do in terms of selecting employees. I know you all know all these things, but the most important fact for me is this: how are you going to be an effective candidate? There can be thousands of people, hundreds of people going through this type of assessments, this type of interviews, this type of evaluation tests. You know that. When you see an advertisement, you think, no, my God, must be hundred of people applied for this. We'll see what is happening. So that is your thinking at the point you are applying. But you should not have that thinking, but you should have the thinking, how I am going to be selected for this position. So that means you have to be an effective candidate. So for that, there's only one thing that you can do is differentiate yourself. So that is what you have forgotten. Even at the point you think of applying for a job, even at the point that you think of going for an organization to work for. So what we are being the management, I am being a HR head for a company. What I expect from candidate is to differentiate themselves. So what do you mean by differentiate? So there's a big thing that we really need to think of. So I will give you one example. Now I told you, when you are, even me at your age, when we are applying for a job, when we see the advertisement, we used to think, my God, must be hundreds of people applying this. We'll see. If I am lucky, I will get a chance. I will get a chance. So that is our thinking. But have you ever thought, no, I am different. I have done this. I have these qualities. So I am sure that I will get selected for this job. So that is the point that you have to think of. Differentiate yourself. So how you are going to do it? So I will take more time on this slide because this is the most important thing. You have to brand yourself. If you want to differentiate yourself, you have to brand yourself. So I know you already know what is a brand, right? You know what is a brand. Now, if you go to a supermarket, if you buy a chocolate, there's a brand you prefer, right? Obviously, your hand will go to that specific chocolate, specific biscuit, specific perfume. So brand is a very strong thing, right? When you develop a brand, it's a very strong thing. Brand is brand for, if it is a chocolate, if you really prefer to eat Cadbury chocolate, wherever you go in this world, you will definitely search for Cadbury. So that is the powerfulness of the brand. So how are you going to brand yourself? Do you have a brand? I know this is kind of not a one two-way session, but you have a Q&A session, but I'm still asking you, do you have a brand in your within your department? Do you have a brand? Now I know I'm not boasting, but I'm telling you, but when it comes to my company, I have a brand. So that brand, that personal brand carries a lot of things. So I'm just asking you, do you have that brand? How can you brand yourself? So that includes yourself. So you should think about how are you going to develop that brand. So before I explain these 6 areas, I will give you one example. So there are a lot of brands in our country which the entire world knows because of some specific qualities. Now, one example I will give you, I will take only sports. I don't want to discuss about other topics. So I will take sports. Now, if you talk about Sangakkara, it's a brand. No, he is no more just a cricketer. He is a brand. The way he dressed, the way he talk, the way he play cricket, everything is a brand. And the way he present himself in any forum and the way he do presentations is a brand. So similarly, I know we can't be Sangakaras, like everyone can't be Sangakaras, but within your framework, within your territory, you can be a brand. So you have to develop that brand. This is how you can differentiate yourself. So if you really want to differentiate yourself, you have to brand yourself. So I will let you know how we can do this. Normally, basically, we have identified in case of personal branding, there are 6 areas that we really need to think of. So I will start from the last one, personality. So when it comes to a person, especially in the corporate environment, personality matters a lot. We expect from any candidate that we want to see should have a very good personality, very strong personality. It can be he or she can be a beginner. Maybe that person is coming for an interview for the first time. But personality is the most important thing. So that includes many things. Your body postures and the way you walk and the way you talk and the way you manage your body language in an interview. I'm taking the examples from the interview point of view because this is your expectation today, but developing personal brand is for your entire life. So I will get an example. Now, normally when I'm doing interviews, I never take my interviews in my room. I usually go to the boardroom. Why is that? Because I know I would have do my interviews at my room because I have a room. But I prefer to do it in a very spacious place. I normally judge people, even the way he or she walks, how she enters to the room, how she or he greets us, and how confident he or she is. Since this is an online session, I can act and show you. Normally, when I do this type of session, I used to act and show it because I have experienced many people from the very first time that it's the first time that we see them, right? We have never seen them earlier. No? So when they are coming to room itself, I feel, oh my God, why this child is so fear to us? You should not, because you are coming to an organization, you are not coming to the prison. So you should have that personality. When you are entering to the interview room, you can greet the interview panel and you can say good morning or good afternoon or whatever. And you can sit perfectly and keep in your mind, when you are sitting in the chair even, that reflects your personality. So that you have to keep in your mind. And the way you look at the people, the interview panel, and with the way you answer. And remember, there's an art even to say no. I know that people don't know everything, right? Sometimes we are asking questions to see how you are responding to such negative questions. But you should know that art, even to say no, there is an art in an interview. So that you should know because that clearly reflects your personality. And especially the way you dress. So that reflects your personality. So remember, when you are developing your personal brand, having a strong and powerful personality matters you a lot. That doesn't matter whether you are a girl or a boy. Because in some, not because I'm a woman, I'm telling you, but I have seen some girls who are performing really well in interviews because they are so powerful. And also there are some males who really perform in the interviews because of their personality. Sometimes they don't have the paper qualifications. They don't have the required skill set, but their personality matters a lot. So remember, why I took this point first to discuss is personality plays a very big role in developing your personality brand. So remember that. So then I will move to competencies, the blue color one. Improving personal competencies. So what do we mean by competency? So basically, competency is combination of 3 items, 3 things. What are those 3 things? So combination means skills, knowledge, and most importantly, the attitude. So build up competencies in your specific area of your studies, of your job or your industry. You should have the required set of skills. You should have the technical knowledge, and most importantly, you should have the right attitude. So if you really want to build up your personal brand, you should have your right skills and required knowledge, and most importantly, the right attitude. So remember that these three components you have to build up in yourself. And then I'm moving to actions, behavioral improvements. So in developing a personal brand, your behavioral improvements matters a lot, because that includes the social etiquettes and how you behave in your, especially in corporate environments, and your personal behavior. So that includes how you treat people, how you talk with, how you deal with people, and your interpersonal skills. So that really matters when it comes to actions. Now, I will give you one example. Now, I asked you a question whether you have a brand for yourself in your university, in your department. I know you have a card, but that card also built up because of a reason, right? So that can be your brand. So it can be a negative one or it can be a positive one. So you always have to make sure that your brand should become a positive one. So that now you can think of yourself when I'm talking to this. So you have to think of your competencies, set of competencies you have, and what type of a personality is you, and what type of actions you have, and think of what sort of a personal brand you are. And then I'm moving to expertise, improving subject knowledge. So one day you will be entering to one industry. It can be any industry in this world. So when you are entering to those industries, you have to make sure you are an expert of that industry. That doesn't mean that you have to carry a PhD. I know everyone can't do it, but you should have that aim of doing it. But at least up to certain level to face the challenges in the industry, you should have the subject expertise in that specific area. And then I am moving to achievements. So if you really want to become a good personal brand in future, you should have achievements in your life. It can be your degree, it can be your professional qualifications, it can be your winning any competition, and it can be your publishing research paper, and your name should appear everywhere. So that is achievements. In your specific industry, you have to be an achiever. You have to be an achiever in your specific industry. So what I'm telling you now, you can relate yourself to your university now, whether you have done this. And finally, I am moving to experience. So once you started your career, slowly, year by year, you can develop your job experiences. You can improve your job experiences. So what do you think? Can you develop a personal brand within a shorter period, within 6 months? No, you can't. So it takes time. It takes time. So why I want to give this message to you is, if you start developing your personal brand now itself, it's very easy for you to be an effective candidate one day, because your dress code, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you smile, everything will help you to develop your personal brand. And we are being experienced management people, one day sitting in the interview panel, can understand at the point a person entering to the interview, oh my God, this person is someone who really want to deal with the corporate environment with a purpose. So that we can understand by looking at people. So what you have to do is, what you all have to do is to develop your personal brand. So think of several personal brands we have. It can be a singer, it can be a sports person, or it can be a politician, whoever. So they are personal brands. Sometimes this personal brand can be negative and positive both. So you know there are very known people who are negative brands, negative personal brands. So, but that doesn't work. But if you really want to sustain in the corporate environment, you have to be a positive personal brand. So that really matters. So developing your brand is not going to be a short-term thing. It's a long-term thing. Even I'm telling you, I'm being into this corporate environment for more than I entered to corporate environment in 2005. So at the age of 19. So far, I'm just telling you, at least I took about 10 years to build the brand called Tilini in HR industry. It's a long journey. So if you really want to go through that long journey in your career, you have to develop this brand. It doesn't mean that you have to do a job. Maybe you are starting up your own business. Even to do that, you should have your personal brand. So there are a lot of personal brands in our country who were well-known businessmen. You know it. I don't like to mention the names, but you know whom I'm talking about. So you can be one of them one day. So for everything, you should have a personal brand. Remember that, because I really believe in this personal branding. So I took a long time to explain this slide. So I will move on to the next one. When you are facing an interview, when you are entering the corporate environment, the first thing that you will do is you will send your CV to the relevant vacancy. You will send the CV. So that is the first thing that you do. Definitely, you will send your biodata. So what do you mean by having an impressive CV? So that is again part of your personal brand, right? If you have a brand, you have to market it. So I'm just using all marketing theories to HR. You might think why I'm using all these marketing theories in this HR. So I really believe marketing and HR is kind of same thing. So the CV, your biodata is the tool, the very first tool that you use to market yourself. So what do you think? When you go to supermarket, if you want to buy buy biscuits, if the packaging is not nice, are you going to buy it? These days, of course, yes, you should definitely, you might think of the lowest price one. But forget about these days, think about 2 years back. If you want to buy a biscuit, if you want to buy a chocolate, especially think about a beauty product. If you want to buy a product like that, I know that you all really concerned about the packaging, right? If the packaging is not attractive, what will happen? This is not good. Look at the packet. Do you really want to buy this? So that is happening, right? So remember, if you want to market yourself, if you want to market your personal brand, your CV is the first tool that you are using to market yourself. So remember that. So sometimes when you see a vacancy, when you don't have enough time to apply it, what will happen? You get the CV what you have at the moment. It's okay, I will send this. I'm sending this. We'll try. You are sending it. At least you don't check the date that you have mentioned at the end of the CV. Sometimes we receive CVs with the cover letters. The cover letter is addressed to some other company because he is applying it, applying without a purpose. They are just sending. So remember these words. your application, your CV, your biodata is the first marketing tool that you are using to market yourself. So that should be something impressive, like the products that you see in the market. So this is your packaging. So remember that. So why do we have to have an impressive CV? So very clear, right? So I am just telling you now, like few months back, I have advertised for a marketing executive vacancy in my company, and I have received about 250 CVs. And again, I am telling you, all those 250 CVs have the same qualifications: marketing degree, SLIM or CIM qualification, and 2 or 3 years experience and above, meeting the minimum criteria. So how am I going to shortlist 25 people for the first round? So what do you think? Can you understand having an impressive CV is how important? Because your CV also gives us the message of your creativity. So that you have to keep in your mind at the first round of shortlisting CVs, the outlook of your CV and the content of your CV matters a lot. And sometimes we receive about 2 to 3 to 5 to 6 pages CVs, giving all the information, including the grammar sevak of that area. So make sure, even I am having 15 years of experience, still my CV is 2 pages. So I only include the most important things to the CV for an employee, for an employer. So remember that a CV should not be lengthy, it should be short and sweet and attractive. So that keep in your mind, you should have why you should have an impressive CV. So that really matters, because that is your first tool of marketing, as I said. So moving forward, the same thing, how can you differentiate yourself from other candidates? Interview will give you an opportunity to market yourself. So after sending the CV, so CV, your biodata becoming the first tool of first marketing tool to brand yourself, to market yourself. So what is the second option that you get to market yourself? It's the interview, right? So if your CV is impressive, if you have the enough skill set to meet the requirement, definitely the management will call you for the interview. So at the point of interview, you should have the ability of marketing yourself. How can you market yourself? Basically, so I will tell you, at the point of interview, I'm again telling you, I'm using all these marketing terms to explain about HR aspects. So at the point of interview, to market yourself, you should, you should sell your brand. I will get one example. Think of an insurance agent. Think of an insurance agent. Do you know we have insurance agents everywhere? And if you have ever experienced the way they sell their product, you will be impressed. They don't have a tangible product, right? They are selling a service, and they can't show any they can't show any outcome of that product, because that is, think about a life insurance, that is something that the benefit will get someone else after you die. But I'm telling you, like few months back, I met one insurance guy who was selling a life insurance to my husband, I was so impressed the way he sold that product being something that we can't touch and some benefit that we can't see. So similarly, similar marketing tools, similar sales tools you have to use when you are going for an interview. So you are the brand. What is your product? Your product is your skill set, your knowledge, and your experience in the industry. So at the interview, you are going to sell your skill set, your knowledge, and your experience by marketing yourself and marketing your brand at the interview. So think of that way. So this is not rocket science. So you have to be creative at the interview to sell yourself. So you have to remember at the interview, at least there are 15 people who will definitely want to sell the same product. If you go to supermarket, there are enough brands of chocolates. But still, if you don't have a preferred product in your mind, you will think of the packaging. You will think of the color. You will think of the ingredients. So that is the competition in the market, the brand competition, the product competition. So remember, I know that you have gone through the lessons of marketing. So the same concept apply to your interview sessions. Because when you go for an interview, there are enough people, enough products, enough people who really want to sell the same product. But if you want to sell your product, you have to differentiate yourself, as I told you. So how are you going to differentiate yourself? It's your personal brand and your selling abilities and your marketing abilities at the point of interview. So that matters a lot. So hope you understood the HR concept that I gave you through marketing tools. So think in that way, be creative. So if you really want to perform an interview, you have to be very creative. Because I am being a person, because I'm just giving you my experience. In my top management team, I am the youngest and I am the only lady. And in the plantation industry, I believe that I am the only lady to sit in a HR position. So what I'm looking at from my candidates is I need someone who is innovative, who is creative, and who can sell him or herself at the interview in the most creative way, the most innovative way. So basically here I'm talking about adding value to yourself. So remember all these words. So that really will help you to develop your personal brand. So hope you understood what I was trying to explain you using marketing theories. So most importantly, one thing I really want to tell you, because I really also had a very bad experience when I was interviewing few people, though I have not included these points in this slide. I want to explain you few points, some mistakes that you do at an interview. So remember, when you sit for the interview, your body language matters a lot. The way you keep your hands, your legs, and most importantly, the posture you sit in the chair. Because that shows how confident are you. So I'm not going to tell you one by one what type of things that you have to follow, but you can Google and search also. So you have to sit 90 degrees and you have to be very straightforward and your hand should be like very steady. I'm just telling you because I can see some people when they sit from their body posture, they are so, it's like that they have come to a monster world. They are looking, the person who are coming to the interview is looking at us like we are monsters. So because they are not confident for the interview. So maybe that you are going for maybe you are trying it out. Maybe that you know that sometimes, I know even sometimes I have, those days, I have applied for jobs. I know that I am not going to get this, but I really want to get the interview experience. So have that confidence when you go for the interview. And most importantly, remember your body language and your eye contact. I have seen many people at the interview, when we ask questions from them, they used to look at the ceiling and give the answers. Sometimes they look at the curtains and they look at their hands and they are looking at their foot and talking. And I don't know to whom they are giving the answer. So if there are 3 or 5 or how many, I don't know, sometimes normally maximum number of people for an interview panel is 5 people normally. So if there are 5 people, if one person is asking the question, so remember, you have to keep the mainly eye contact with that person, and also you should look at other people also. Your eye contact will give the panel how confident you are giving the answers. And your body language, especially the way you move your hands and the way you move your head and how straight your head is. So have you ever thought of, when you are going for an interview, these type of things? So think about these things, because the combination of all these that I'm talking to you, the total package, end of the day, will become your success. So that you have to keep in your mind. So I will move ahead with the next slide. Some tips developing your personal brand and how can be an effective candidate at the interview. So figure out who you are. So always remember, at the interview, you have to be yourself. You have to be your own brand. So you have to make sure that you have developed yourself a strong personality and a strong industry expert. So it doesn't bother that you are a beginner. Even for a beginner, there's a brand. Even for a beginner, there's a personality. So develop that. So be strong, be powerful, and figure out who you are. And make sure at the interview, you reflect yourself. So that will help you to be differentiate from others. Determine what you want to be known for. That is very important. If you want to develop your personal brand, determine what you want to be known for. It doesn't matter now. I will give you one example from my end. Now, I have done maths in my A-levels. I have been selected to university to become an engineer, but I really don't want to, because I knew in my body, in my blood, me is not an engineer. So I selected some other path. So you have to understand yourself and understand your expertise area. I know there are engineers who became dancers. There are dancers who became doctors. So likewise, determine what you want to be known for. In this session, there can be businessmen, there can be business women, and there can be good academic people. So understand what is your area and be strong in that area. Define your audience. So what do you mean by audience? If you want to become a brand, if you want to be a strong personality, you can't be a strong personality to everyone. Now, example, I will take another brand like now we have 2 biscuits, right? Now mainly we are talking about, if you go to supermarket, first if it is biscuits, 2 big names come to our minds is Munchie and Melbourne. So there is a specific audience for Melbourne, and there is a specific audience for Munchie. But if you talk about lemon puff, And there is a very specific audience for Maliban lemon puff and very specific audience for Munchie lemon puff. So similarly, if you want to become a brand, so identify your expertise area, and based on that, who is your audience? Who will be your audience? Because you can't be a brand to the entire world. I'm telling you, even for Sangha, there are people who doesn't like Sangha. If you talk about Sanat Jayasuriya, there are people who don't like Sanat Jayasuriya, but who love Sanat Jayasuriya, who will die for Sanat. If you take Susantika Jayasingh, there are people who really admire her, and there are people who doesn't like her. So similarly, you have to understand what is your area, what do you want to be known for, and then identify your audience. So that will help you to develop your personal brand. Then, most importantly, to strengthen your knowledge, to strengthen your technical background, you have to do continuous research on your desired industry and follow some of those experts. So I'm telling you, I am holding a head position in one conglomerate. Still, I have a mentor. Still, I have a person, an industry expert. In case if I want to know something, I follow him. I used to ask him. So have one person at least, have few people and follow them. And most importantly, research about your desired industry. So be an expert and follow experts, because that will help you to develop yourself. Now, again, I'm taking the same example because I really love to read about articles of Sangakkara. Few years back, I actually read one article about Sangakkara, and it says if he is playing for a match, previous day he know the team and he know who are the bowlers that he will have to face. Previous day, he used to follow all the videos of those bowlers and how they bowl and their techniques and their tactics that they use, and he used to follow all those videos and judge what sort of a situation that he will have to face next day. So that is something like that. So you have one day you will have your expertise area and research about it and be an industry expert on that area. Research about it. So you can't stop researching, right? Even me, I can't stop researching about HR. So you have to do this continuously. And most importantly, if you want to develop your personal brand, your online presence is very important. What is this online presence? Is this Facebook? Is this TikTok? Is this YouTube? There are several professional online platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, kind of things, which will help you to improve and what you call this, to strengthen your personal brand through your online presence. Because that really, especially an era like today, this online presence is really important. Even to find a job and even to do a job, this online presence is really important. Your presence should be available at anywhere, not like online, but you have several networking forums, professional bodies. Like now, example for HR, it started Institute of Personal Management. I'm a chartered member of IPM. And for finance people, it's Chartered Institute, and you have CIMA, you have CMA, a lot of professional bodies. So like those networking bodies, those professional bodies, you have to make your presence. So that will help you to improve your personal brand in your specific industry. So think about these things. Now I have given you a lot of words. I use all marketing theories to explain about this HR concept. So think about all these. You have to develop your personal brand. There are a lot of things that you can do for that. And you should be able to market yourself and sell yourself at a selection process. If you want to get selected in any organization, though the topic says it's small and medium scale organization, I made it a common thing because I really wanted to give this common message. So the time is running, moving ahead, moving to the next slide. These are few tips that you can use in an interview. How can you make yourself effective at the selection process? So this is kind of a tool that you can use. We call it STAR. So interviews are very situational, right? Any kind of interview. It can be a personality test. It can be an assessment center. It can be a simulation process. It can be an one-to-one interview. So you have to focus on this STAR method. You focus on this and give your answers because that will help you to add value to your answer. So what is STAR? So at any type of interview, at any type of selection process, if you're going through, you have to focus on STAR. So S means the situation. So remember, at any interview, at any kind of selection process, it's a situation. So you have to understand first, I know that you might think interview, do we have time at an interview? Do we have time to think all of this? But at least you can be prepared by thinking of this. So S means the situation. So you have to, if it is a question, you have to think of what kind of a situation is this? And the task. So by this question, what type of a task and what type of an outcome is the interview panel is expecting? So what would be the next actions in terms of achieving or reaching that expectation? And by doing this, what would be the results? So very easy. So quickly think about these things. What type of a situation, what type of a task, and what would be the next action steps? And by doing this, what type of a results that we will reach? So any question you should be able to analyze by putting this to 4 things. And remember one thing, you might think, do we really have time to think of all these things during an interview? Of course, yes. If when the interview panel is asking a question, if you really need at least 1 minute to think about it, you can politely ask, dear sir, okay, I understood this question. Will you give me 30 seconds to think about this and give you the answer? So because I know for sure the interview panel will not misunderstand you, because that shows your cognitive skills. That shows your logical skills, your negotiation skills. So remember, at the interview, your anything, any behavioral thing, any word would be the judgmental factor about yourself in an interview. So think about these 4: situation, task, action, and results. And by using this tool, how you are going to face an interview effectively, and how can you be an effective candidate in the interview. So that is the most important thing. So I know that you might think, my God, this facing an interview is going to be a big thing. No. If you really understood what I told you, because why I use marketing theories is because that is the most familiar thing to us. Because those are day-to-day things for us. So similarly, think about yourself. Now you have to develop yourself, right? You are about to reach the corporate environment. You are about to reach the corporate world as professionals. So you are going to be a brand, you are going to be a product. So to sell your product, you should have that marketing skills as well. So always remember that. Your personality, your personal brand matters a lot. So moving to the next slide. There are few tips you can read. I'm not going to go one by one. Some tips for the selection process. So before you go for an interview, remember you have to study about the organization. I know nowadays many people before they come to the interviews, they do it. So how are you going to know about the company? How are you going to research about the company before you go to the interview? You have several tools. You have the website, company website, you have annual reports, and you have paper articles about the company. And make sure that you are updated about the most recent achievements and most recent incidents happen within the company, because many of them are published in the newspapers. Because that will add value to yourself at the interview, because the interview panel knows that you are interested about the organization. And also normally, like, when you are going for an interview, you know what type of common questions that they will ask you. So get ready for those type of common questions with a proper answer. Now, example, normally when we are interviewing beginners like you, the beginners to the corporate environment, we used to ask, how do you see yourself in 10 years? These are common questions, right? I'm just telling you. How do you want to yourself in 10 years? Can I tell you the common reply that I get? I want to be a manager in 5 years or 10 years. I want to be a head of the department. So that is not going to be the answer. Even in that answer, be creative. We know, even me, still I have my ambitions for my future. But still I don't say, okay, I want to be a director one day within another 5 years. So don't ever give that type of common answer to a common question. So make sure you have an uncommon answer to common question, because that uncommon answer will differentiate yourself. Sometimes you might say, okay, within another 10 years, okay, now I'm 25. Within another 10 years, I'm 35. So I should get married and I should have kids, and my kids will go to school, and obviously I will be a manager one day. So I want to improve my managerial skills, and I want to develop my professional qualification. Sometimes I might want to be a director in a company, kind of an answer and creative answer. So remember that. There are common questions which will be asking at the interview, and make sure that you are giving an uncommon answer to that common question. So that is how you can differentiate yourself. And most importantly, before you go to the interview, make sure that you read and understand the job description which is shown in the vacancy advertisement. So that is also really important, because because when you really understand the job description, it's very easy for you to give the answers at the point that that interview panel is asking questions from you. So make sure that. And be prepared with the examples of your work, maybe that you have done some researchers, that you have involved with some university work. So remember, because we are asking, when we know that when a beginner coming for an interview, they don't have working experience to share with us. So what they can share with us is their university experience and their internship experience. So be ready with those experience, because that will help you to reply with proper answers. And most importantly, plan your interview attire. And I'm telling you, if I am in the interview panel, if someone like me in the interview panel, I will definitely look at your shoes even. That doesn't want to be something new, but that should everything, your full outfit, your package should be something impressive, and your package should be very neat. That doesn't mean you have to wear new shoes, you have to wear new shirts, and you have to wear new skirts and blouse, new saris. And your hair should be neat, and neatness is the most important thing in your attire. So that's about it. And I have done my best within the given time explaining you how you can become an effective candidate. And I believe one day you will be the person. Remember that. You can say that I am the person. So when you come for an interview, the interview panel should feel that you are the person for the available vacancy. So to be the person, there are a lot of things that you can do, and there are a lot of areas that you can develop in yourself. So for everything, I will again go back to this slide. I will share this slide with your organizing committee at the end of this session, and you can have this again. So focus on these six areas and develop yourself. And basically what I really would love to see is set of personal brands are coming out from the university to the corporate environment. I will not call them beginners. I will call them personal brands. So hope you understood, and you will be the person one day to, and I hope to see you one day as the person at any interview in future. We don't know. So thank you so much, and hope you understood what I explained. And I think the session is open for Q&A session.
Thank you very much, madam. So from the audience, if you all have any questions, you all can send them now. Madam, is it okay if I read the questions out for you?
No problem. I can't say, I think. No problem. You can read, yes.
So as you said, an effective employee should be able to achieve the expected goals within a timeline. So other than being with the technology, what are the other key things we can do to practice meeting our timelines, madam?
Okay. So one main challenge would be, hope you can hear me, right? I'm not mute. Okay. One main challenge would be managing the available resources. So I will tell you one example. When a very young person entering to the corporate environment, because I have faced these challenges. When a young person entering to the corporate environment, the biggest challenge is to manage the existing resources, and especially the existing people, because you have to get on with someone. It can be someone who is 20 years older than you. Sometimes it can be the processors in the organization which has set up long time back, but you have learned new things and you have learned new technology and you are entering into the world. So it's not easy to manage your work with the existing resources. So that would be your biggest challenge. Now, I will tell you one example. I told you, in my experience, I am the youngest in my management team, even currently. And even my previous employments, I got this opportunity to become the youngest in the management team. So when I'm trying to implement new thing, what will happen? There are a lot of comments coming in. That's not going to work. The resources are not enough. Time is not enough. People won't understand this. What is this? We can't change what we have done over 10 years. So one thing, managing the physical resources you have, and the biggest challenge is managing the people resources you have in your organization. So that is one challenge I would tell you, other than the time, to become an effective employee. and the technology, again, I told you, and the people and the systems and processors. Now, one thing I would tell you now, when you are coming out from the university, you have learned all set of new things, right? So maybe the same degree who has followed 10 years back, it's completely different. So they are not in a position to accept what you say. So the changing process, the change management itself is a challenge. So those type of challenges might come when you are entering to a this corporate environment as beginners and as new people. But again, what I told you, developing your personal brand, including your personalities and competencies, will help you to face that type of challenges. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. There's another one question.
Yeah.
Uh, working in a large-scale entity, do you think there are any clear differentiations when selecting employees for such a large organization and a small and medium enterprise?
I am being a person who has worked for both organizations. I don't see any big difference because end of the day, the management expect a person, a candidate who can perform the job. Now, I would tell you there are some people now. There are some people, some small, medium organization wants to headhunt people from larger companies by giving a big salary. Why is that? Because they have the bigger knowledge about the industry. So that means there's no difference between selecting a person to a small, medium organization and a larger organization. So there, being an HR person, I'm telling you, there's no big difference. I don't use the word big. There's no difference in the process we are selecting a person for a large and small and medium scale organization. The only difference would be the salary that you offer. It can happen in any organization. Sometimes I'm telling you the small organizations are offering bigger salaries than large organization to the same position. So that is why I actually didn't use that word in this presentation. So you have to get ready to enter the corporate environment. There can be different organizations in the corporate environment. It can be large or it can be medium or it can be small. But you have to get ready to enter any of these, not not any specific one. So remember that. Yes.
So I would like to direct a question as well. So
Yeah.
does having done extracurricular activities apart from academics matter when getting selected to positions?
I'm actually sorry I couldn't mention about this. I will say a big yes to that. So I'm really sorry I couldn't mention that. I told you at an interview, you can differentiate yourself. Now, if we interview 15 people for the same position, they have the same qualifications, same degree, same professional qualifications, same experience, but your extracurricular activities will definitely be an advantage to you because that differentiate yourself. Because we know a person who has done a good team sport like football, cricket, or netball, or whatsoever, he or she is a good team player. And any person who has done athletics, or it can be a single, I mean like individual games, we know that person definitely drives the given target because he will never give up anything. Any person who has run 100 meters from the start, when the person look at the end, the only target is to finish the game being the first. So that quality we really admire, and we really evaluate that extracurricular activities at the interview. And being a good announcer and being a good, what you call this, debating person, because those extracurricular activities will be a reflection of your personality and your attitude. So for your questions, my dear, it's a big yes. We really consider extracurricular activities.
Thank you very much, madam.
Yes.
So if you all have any questions, you all can direct them now. Well, I think it's all clear now. So thank you very much, madam, for your kind explanations and the wonderful session which enlightened all of us today. So before concluding the events for the day, I would like to welcome Ms. Radha Thilochana to propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, a very good evening to all. On behalf of all colleagues and lecturers, I'm glad to express my vote of thanks. A special thanks to our guest speaker, Ms. Thilini Edirisinghe, for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today. I thank our coordinating lecturer, Ms. Pubuduni Liyanage, for always supporting and guiding us. This workshop has truly inspired us to select effective employees for SMEs. I would be failing in my duty if I did not thank my fellow colleagues who have made this workshop session possible. I would also like to thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you once again.
So with that, we come to the end of today's session. I hope this session was useful for all of us in many ways. My group members and myself would like to thank you once again for joining with us today. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.